Alright, I'm back. Time to talk to a random person. A good one?
Yes? Hello? Me? No one. I'm just a working class woman.
She doesn't really want to be disturbed that much. If she's such a working class woman, why isn't she working?
Shouldn't a working class woman be working?
Not all the time. Right now I'm browsing books. Even a working class woman needs something to read.
Good, good.
It is.
I'm a
I
policeman.
know you are.
Good then.
Mm-hmm. What with?
Her hands move over the book covers. The tips of her fingers look rough, stained with yellow. It seems like she has spent a lot of time at work, smoking. Another comrade. Years of labor are pressing down on her shoulders. She deserves a hug for all the work she's done for mankind.
That's all for the
The
moment.
woman before you nods and returns to her reading.
Hey, wait a second. What's down here? Cash. It's almost enough for rent. Woo. There's an orb here. Probably should actually investigate that apartment complex. Can I do the white check yet?
Just an ordinary.
Alcohol.
This door has been closed with a padlock. A chalk-drawn number on the board says number 11. It's a solid lump of metal, but the shackle is deeply corroded. A solid pair of chain cutters would make short work of it. Better whip out those cutters. You won't get very far otherwise.
I mean, I kind of want to see if I can actually get that check done without the chain cutters. That would be hilarious if you somehow managed to do that. Yep, just loot everything that isn't nailed down.
Give me a moment. The cold never does any good for my bronchitis. I'm fine. Fine. Don't you worry about me.
You're still worried. It's very worrying.
Yes.
Now, what do you want from me, policeman?
She's the cleaning lady. She knows the floor plan and the residence.
How are you?
I'm no one. Just an old woman who cleans these hallways. If you can call it living. I have a little room upstairs right next to the coal room. It's barely bigger than a closet. But I don't complain, no. I have my bed and my aching bones to keep me company. And that's all I need from this world.
She hasn't spoken to anyone for a while. Even her sentences feel rusty.
That's sad.
Yes, yes, I know who you mean. The scrawny boy who's always smoking like the devil, right?
Somewhere in the building, a child starts crying. You hear a radio tuned to a talk show and someone taking a shower.
What's he in trouble for?
No trouble. Just want to talk to him.
Talk?
What was so funny about that?
He lives upstairs in room 28. Go to the balcony. It's one of those doors there. He's usually home in the evening.
Thank you. We should go check out his apartment on the balcony. See if he's home.
Ask away, policeman. People come and go. I don't keep an eye on everyone.
They probably just moved or died. Hopefully somewhere else.
Yeah, hopefully.
Oh, that one is a scientist, a future scholar. I think he studies astrology at the community college. Education's good. I always tell them to study. Something to do with all those stars around his door. He asked me to leave his drawings up on the wall.
Are you sure she don't mean astronomy?
That's what I said. Astrology.
Oh god, not one of those people. They're very different things, just to let you know. The correct term nowadays is astrophysics. Or at least that's the main field. There is other related fields like astrobiology, which is very speculative. Astrochemistry, which is less speculative, but still a little less well developed as astrophysics. Astronomy is the old term for the field and still acceptable. Astrology is an insult to astrophysics.
The lieutenant shakes his head as though to say, let it go. Come on, people. Try to keep up any standards here. It's not about stars. It's... forget it.
The artiste? Nothing I can do about her, I'm afraid. She ruins the walls faster than I can clean them. Still, she leaves an old lady to her business. More than I can say for others.
She mumbles some kind of a response, then hacks something into her handkerchief.
Someone has torn down the wall. Something in here? Yeah.
What happened here?
You can't foreclose an apartment with a hole in the wall.
It will still be accessible through the apartment next to it. That one didn't have a door. Sadly, nothing of great value remains here.
Except the stuff in the fridge.
Indeed.
A firing squad for the rich. I very much understand the sentiment.
Give me a moment. Ask away, policeman.
Why is there a hole in the abandoned apartment?
Some lunatic lost his mind. All kinds of morons pass through these halls.
With how small these rooms are, wouldn't you want to break the wall down?
The hell am I supposed to know? Another nut job, I assume.
She mumbles.
Yep. Door.
Ruination has come. The broken arches betray the once grand history of this building. It towered over the harbour until it happened. A great force from the northeast fired into the city. Heavy artillery shelled the coastline. Fired from the water. A straight shot into Revachol. The tenement acted as a defensive wall against the worst of the shelling until it was destroyed, and they had a direct firing line.
Taking the
The
ocean.
waves of the Martinez Inlet roll over the fallen remains of the building. The dark waters obscure the better part of the remains. What didn't fall into the ocean was used as scrap. What wasn't used as scrap was thrown into the ocean. Those arches acted as support for something greater than what you see now. Only 3 stories stand where 9 to 12 once did. Restoration has failed. What the shelling took out was never rebuilt. A fleet, the combined armies of Occident and Grad, with Mesk volunteers, a 5-nation army, hundreds of vessels. They massed airships further down in the Bay of Revachol. The artillery was so powerful. The ships not only required gyroscopic stabilization, they were anchored into the ocean floor as well. Many are still there to this day. If you squint, you can just barely see the shadow on the water, far in the northeast. Cannons still ready to placate Revachol. Coalition warship Archer can shoot 50 shells a minute on 20 co-aligned archers. They will reach the city in 58 seconds.
Yep.
The coalition. But that was a long time ago. I think we should move on. It's chilly up here.
He does not like talking politics of this kind.
Time to go. Up there. Sure.
Ooh, the piggies have learned how to saunter up staircases. I didn't think you could do that with hooves. But here you are.
That's right. We've evolved.
Yeah, I can see that. Cool mutations.
That smell coming from her paint bucket. It's not paint. It's heavy fuel oil.
Is that heavy fuel oil?
Red dyed heavy fuel oil, intended for exclusive use in government vehicles, to be precise.
What did you think I was using? Aquarels? Sucked it out of a cop's fuel tank myself. Back in Jamrock.
She really did it. She's proud of it too.
Fumes are bad for you, okay?
Something to think about next time you're driving around in your pretty little piggy carriage.
So you won't talk about the murder, but maybe you can tell us something about the the murder victims' missing armor.
What do I care about some fucking tin eggshells?
Isn't armor art for the
Ugh, alright, sad piggy. I'll give you this one. I saw a little girl in the fishing village running around with military grade handwear. Looked cute as hell. If you haven't been there, the village is a shithole down the coast from the main plaza. Have a good time. Piggy, I have no idea why I just told you that. You look like a shaggy dog left in the rain for too long. I have a weakness for animals.
Ooh, what's this? That's a lot of money. Some new pants, in case I need to drop reaction speed instead of saver fare. Generally speaking, I'm fine with keeping saver fare as it is. uh, that's funny.
hear someone walking around inside, rearranging the furniture. The walking stops abruptly, but no one comes to the door. You can feel tension on the other side. A poor communard from the looks of it. The room is barely bigger than a closet.
Do I have to open the door? Do you have a warrant? I'm not obligated to open the door if you don't have a warrant.
Let's go. We don't have a reason to get inside that apartment.
It's generally easier to do things if you have literally any reason.
I'm investigating. I gotta know everything that happens around here.
Give me a moment. Ask away, policeman. No one lives there. It's been empty for months. Impossible. I would know if someone had moved in there. Maybe it's those countercultural people again. Breaking into a house like it's a public space. You're a policeman. Be good and take a look, will you? Great. Young people. They're worse than rats. You know, always littering the hallways with trinkets and empty beer cans.
She mumbles some kind of a response. You hear someone walking.
Excuse me? Of course not.
There's no sweet talking your way in there. Be official. You have plenty of reason to enter.
I don't need a warrant if I suspect there's been a break-in.
Oh, come on.
Well, that was easy.
That was smart.
Satisfied? My name is Marielle Charpentier, and I'm an agent with Martinez Realty Associates. I am not breaking in, as I have every right to be here. The keys, see?
Her voice is really cheerful, despite her obviously hating you.
Do you want to see my ID as well? You can't legally ask for it, but why not? Want to see my residence permit too? Very well, but please make it quick. I need to be back in La Delta in an hour. I need to get it ready for the next lease, but as you can see, the previous tenant completely trashed the place.
Who lived here?
It was some kind of a moribund old man who used to be a business owner. You'd think they'd make rent. But that was months ago. Anyway, was there anything you wanted, or is that it? I'm in a hurry. Oh, that's another huge mess. The former tenant owes us 3 months of rent. 3. We closed the apartment and planned on auctioning off the valuables, but... And again, I have no idea how stupid mistakes like this can even happen. But Ron, when he came to close the door, didn't close the neighboring door. And there's a hole in the wall. A hole in the wall. Can you believe it? And then the tenant ran off with his stuff. He's gone. The money's gone. Just like that.
The sum must have been puny.
Couldn't have been that much money. These apartments look pretty shabby.
These apartments are perfectly fine. They have gorgeous architecture, a million real view of the bay, good ventilation, neighbors, life, spark, and they are affordable. I'll tell you, Martinez has a future. In a few years, it's going to blossom with artists and creatives and those radio computer wizards.
I don't know what's with her voice, but it sounds so fake. Oh, I know what that reminds me of. The razor.
Well, it does not disappear from my hands. No, I don't let it. Don't ask me what happened with the wall. I have no idea how we're going to find the time or resources to fix it. Both apartments are now unrentable. Both. Of course.
Don't be ridiculous. You can hear it swarming with bugs. Ooh, that's good. +1 to indirect modes of taxation. I think that's the ultra liberal. one. Ultra rich.
Give me a moment. I see. I hope some good people are finally going to move in. This place needs them.
Yes, computer wizards are coming. They're gonna save the place. No one is coming. There will be nothing but squalor unless we start killing real estate agents.
We won't be killing anyone. And you shouldn't say things like that. You're a police officer. There's been enough killing. I've seen it.
She's seen it and known those who have been killed.
I mean, every time I pick a leftist option, I get, well, communist option, I get 4 XP, so.
That isn't just a 5-pointed star. It's an inverted white pentagram cradled in a wreath of antlers, the iconography of communism. In other words, the star and antlers was developed in the 6th decade of the last century and quickly adopted by Mazov and the communards during the revolution. Even today, half a century after, the star and antlers retains the ability to evoke hope, disappointment, and fear in equal measure.
Why is the star upside
To
down?
symbolize the toppling of the old order. Also, some social democrats were already using it.
What's the deal with the antlers?
The wreath of antlers represents a natural crown. It was about building a society that could exist in accord with the natural world, and at the same time above it.
Why white?
Because white is the color of peace.
What does it evoke in me?
Gone. Gone is the glory of hope. Only the scribblings of impoverished students remain in dirty hallways. You are the big communism builder now. It's you or no one. This door has been closed with a padlock. A chalk-drawn number on the board says, number 11. No reply. This door is made of metal and appears to be reinforced. Someone here really values their security. Number 28. This is where the cleaning lady said the smoker on the balcony lives.
Let's see if anyone's home. Knock on the door.
No one answers.
Looks like the young man we are looking for isn't home. I think our best chance to catch him is in the evening. We should return tonight after we have finished with our day's work. How about 9 p.m.? Sound good?
Sounds good.
Tonight at 9 p.m. Right here, apartment number 28. Good, let's go.
Just a closed door, but you look at it suspiciously. Is there anything up here? Nope. Just scaffolding.
You're back. Good. What can I help you with?
I spoke with the lawyerman at the roundabout.
Yes, my eyes on the harbour have sent word to that effect. What have you discovered?
We have discovered enough to conclude, for now.
Yes. And will you start an official investigation?
If there is an investigation, it will be part of an ongoing operation, subject to confidentiality. I'm sure you understand.
Of course, detectives. In any case, you've held up your end of our arrangement. I trust you with the rest. Now it's my turn. I wouldn't normally break protocol like this, but the situation demands it. If you don't solve this murder, I'm afraid we may have a bloodbath on our hands.
What was that about a bloodbath?
Yes. I'm afraid this strike may descend into a small-scale civil war, with possible consequences for all of Rivershoal West.
Since you are sharing land, this is also the RCM's worst-case scenario.
Then we're on the same page, as grim as it may be.
What's the connection?
I have an indirect role to play, I'm sad to say. My employer experienced a momentary lapse of faith in me. In that moment, they elected to deploy a private military contractor as an insurance measure. They called it my security detail.
Momentary lapse of faith.
They were dispatched after I relayed the union's initial offer.
Ah, okay.
Every worker a member of the board. I tried to convince my employer it was simply a piece of rhetoric and not a serious demand, but the stridency of it seems to have spooked them.
Do you need a security detail?
Absolutely not. These mercenaries are muscle, pure and simple. They are meant to intimidate the Union into surrendering.
Uh-huh.
Who are they, exactly?
Crenell, an Oranese military company. As far as I know, 3 arrived in Martinez. They report to me sporadically, but they do not answer to me. To be frank, our relationship is deteriorating.
Yep, so the company decided that the best way to break the strike is immediately go for the mercenaries. They didn't even ask the police. That's supposed to be the police's job, to break strikes, you know?
They wear ceramic armor, have semi-automatic weapons, and years of combat experience. They also have trauma and stressor disorder, and no idea how to conduct themselves in an urban civilian environment.
That's probably the variant of PTSD, how it's called in-universe. Kind of like how they do not have supernatural, they have supranatural.
So, what happened?
The story is, one of them, the Colonel, I don't know his real name, sexually assaulted a local woman while he was drunk and separated from his unit. This allowed some of the more militant Union members to subdue him. He was taken out behind the whirling in rags and lynched last Sunday night. Nothing. Mr. Clare refuses to let me into the harbour. I have not been able to discuss this matter with anyone there. The remaining 2 Crenell contractors carry out their orders, for now.
For now?
It's a smokescreen. In secret, they are conducting an independent military tribunal into the lynching. Once this investigation is concluded, executions will follow.
What is the nature of this so-called investigation?
Whether to execute one, some, or all of the Union militants.
You've made a mess here.
It was the Union who strung him from that tree. My hope is that you provide a single concrete suspect before Crenell indiscriminately pick theirs. Simply put, if you don't pin this on someone good and do it fast, they will identify and execute everyone present at the lynching. This in turn will force the Union to respond.
The Debardeurs have over 2,000 men. It will be 1,000 to 1.
Have you ever seen a Hornet invade a beehive, Lieutenant? It's not pretty.
Yeah, but the bees usually end up winning in the end.
The Serai's giant hornet, the world's second largest insect, can kill 40 honeybees a minute, while a group of 30 can decimate an entire hive of 20,000 bees in less than 4 hours.
These men work in tandem using semi- and fully automatic firearms. Their armor is virtually impenetrable to muzzle-loaded weapons, even yours. Most Union workers don't have guns at all.
Yeah, that armor is something else, isn't it?
As I said, a bloodbath.
Isn't this a pretty bleak scenario you're describing?
Many bleak scenarios have already come true. Nameless, badgeless detective of the citizens' militia. All we can do is keep the rest from going the same way. One single concrete suspect delivered into civil court, and I may be able to defuse this situation.
Sure, let's see what Coach Physical Instrument has to say. Sorry, Encyclopedia. You said the deceased assaulted a woman?
Or he didn't. This is information passed on to me from some teenagers loitering around the canal. I cannot testify by it. The remaining contractors, their tribunal, it's what they believe. That the man was killed because he assaulted a local woman. I've asked around a bit. This seems to be the accepted story around Martinez.
Yeah, I don't feel too sorry about him.
The lieutenant consults his notebook, his eyebrows knitted in concentration.
Odd. We haven't heard any reports about an assault in connection with the lynching. Where did it take place? And when?
Last Sunday night, at the Whirling in Rags, the hostel by the gates. Supposedly, the colonel was drunk, maybe on narcotics too. Either way, he's alleged to have sexually assaulted a woman. Sometime later, a group of dock workers got their hands on him. That's a good question, officer. I don't have the slightest idea. As I said, it's a rumor about a rumor. In any case, it's what the colonel's remaining colleagues believe.
You meet her soon enough, you feel.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Not much. Their public resume is relatively good, as far as private military contractors go. I believe they were once called Downwell. They boast a long list of clients. Saint-Baptiste, Welchman-Lorenz, Eintracht. A warning sign, however. The operations concerned all take place in third or fourth world countries. Guarding facilities, escort missions and such.
Sound like the kind of places where war crimes can go happen unnoticed.
Meaning they're used to operating in war zones.
Yes. All the good conflict corridors, Supramundi, Yesut, the Seminese Islands, countries that don't have a good record reporting atrocious military conduct on their soil. Sadly, no. Before this happened, I had little interest in them. Now that I do, I don't have the resources. If you still have access to the ICP's database, you could run a better background check than I ever could. It may take some time, though.
Do you know a lot about the inner workings of the RCM and the ICP, ma'am?
In my line of work, it pays to do your research. I was prepared to deal with the RCM. I did not think I'd be dealing with a group like Crenel. I have, and they will. However, these orders take time to reach what is basically a rogue unit out in the field here. Until they do, it's all on us.
Oh, great.
She's being truthful. She is pressing them as hard as she can.
If you mean did I see him alive? Yes. But I did not know him.
His name was?
Lely. His service name. A nom de guerre, most likely. He wouldn't divulge his full name. Only one of them did. A bad sign if there ever was one.
Listen, Ellie. Anything else? Nationality? How old would you say he was?
He was 40. Or 50. It's hard to say which. He had a combat injury on his lower jaw. It made it difficult to estimate his age, or gauge his facial expressions.
What else? Nationality? Accent?
He was, Occidental, I think. Light brown hair, a mixed accent, Oranese, or Messinian, maybe. His injury gave him an accent all his own. In a way, it was humanizing. He had to learn to speak through it. Through the injury. That's all I know, I guess. I only met him once.
Where are the two remaining mercs now?
They've gone to ground, as it were. I don't recommend seeking them out. For one, they're almost certainly armed to the teeth. They don't have the same respect for the Revachol citizens' militia as I do. To put it bluntly, they think you're vigilantes. Ghetto savages. It will not be a fruitful meeting.
Still need to know where they are, if only to avoid them.
You're likely to run into them eventually. When that happens, I'll be in a better position to mediate if I don't appear involved.
Right, time to roll snake eyes.
One is obviously the scab leader at the harbour gates. The one chanting the idiotic slogans. He's barely maintaining his disguise. The other has a vantage point in a building south of the roundabout. They were keeping tabs on you while you were canvassing the lorry drivers.
That may be so. I still hope you heed my advice. There's no need to kick the hornet's nest.
For all your talk of averting this catastrophe, the situation at the gate is a powder keg. Does this not bother you?
Of course it bothers me, Lieutenant. But my hands are tied. How would my employer react if it appeared I were intervening on behalf of the Union?
Your concern may be appearances. Ours is keeping the peace.
That would afford a good vantage point. In any case, it's practically inaccessible.
Where is your radio for contacting them, if I may ask? Do you have an earpiece?
Heavens, no. I'm not an undercover agent. There's a short wave at the ship's wheel. I hope I can answer it better.
How much time do we have left?
Until the executions start? Truthfully, I don't know. It depends on their progress identifying the members of the lynch mob, and their impatience.
They don't report their progress to you?
Not on this matter. I'm afraid they consider this a personal initiative. It's a matter of days, not weeks.
That's enough for now.
I am sorry to have been the bearer of bad news. If there is anything else I can help you with, please ask.
Now, can you tell me about these tattoos?
Of course. Excuse my hesitation before.
For about half a minute, in silence.
It was taken with a Trigat not long ago. This is the man's upper body. There were no more markings on his hands or legs.
Her mouth is relaxed. The accordion lines near her mouth vanish. The pearls of her eyes move slowly on the photo's surface.
Sorry. I was trying to see if I can read the web of interdependencies between these points. The stars. I can't. But that's how you read this story. The points themselves don't have letters, numbers, anything. Their size, location on the body, and distance from each other tells you what they represent.
Like stars in the sky?
Close. Port cities. This is an Oronese map of the waterways, a sailor's tattoo worn by wayfarers of the Dolorian century. Over 300 years ago, the sailors would mark their bodies to map their travels.
What's the use of this map?
The sailor's soul would use it to fly back home if they should die abroad. This is a sort of contraption to be reeled back in by. The silver cord, they would call it.
Where is he now?
I've spoken to him. For now, the soul is fastened inside his corpse.
That is precisely what the sailors feared when they drew these maps. A fear of drowning within one's own corpse.
What travels did the dead man make?
Quite a few. Vredefort, the Oronese capital, traditionally stands on the right shoulder. He started somewhere near here, I think.
What next?
Then he made his way to the Pretto Grande, through what I think must be the Stutz Canal, an artificial channel through the Occident. From the Pretto, he sailed to the Insulindic Ocean, first the Semnes Islands, then this, Revachol. Those are the two constants, Vredefort on the shoulder and Revachol in the heart. They started the tradition of these maps right after the discovery of Insulinde, at the dawn of the Interinsulary Age.
The old world passing by, and the new world already here.
You said you can't read it.
I can't. This man was no sailor, and these are no ports. I can understand geographic fragments, but not their meaning.
Who could tell me more?
His platoon members? The other contractors. Though I do not suggest you go and show them that picture. This man was their friend and comrade.
Yeah, that sounds like that would actually genuinely kill me if I try that, so.
I am relieved you think so. I don't think deciphering that tattoo should come before public security. Is there anything else I can help you with?
I've got some more questions about reality.
More lessons in basic reality? My favorite part of the day. Go ahead, ask me anything.
What is...
What is all of this? The scent, the sound, the air.
What world is this?
What world? The only one, I suppose. The world of matter. And its pale antipode.
The camera of her mind glides over the surface of the water.
Great bodies of water, forest-covered surfaces, clusters of light where the cities lie. You've seen the montage. We all have. This world is enough. There is a term of endearment they coined for it in the DeLorean century, when humanity was high on this world, discovering more and more of it, these archipelagos included.
What is it?
Elysium.
Wait, is this the one with the evil apes?
Not in this case, no. That sounds more like something the Mesk petrofascists might say. It isn't enough to call us animals. Even animals aren't animals.
What are animals then?
They're like you and I suppose. Living organisms don't identify with abstractions. Elysium is for particular beings.
Elysium. The world needs a term of endearment.
It does. There are those who would call it hell. A term of hatred that originates, like many such things, with the Mesk petrofascists.
I don't feel like I've got the whole picture yet.
Oh, you want a picture of the world? There is no complete set yet, dear. They're having some trouble reaching orbit.
How come?
Great things are difficult to achieve. For now, we're viewing the world from the inside, sideways.
Inside sideways.
We used to think it was a sphere, but that is beginning to look less and less likely by the day. You wouldn't know it from the tabloids, but the ORG nations have been launching weather balloons into the lower ionosphere since the 30s.
ORG, Occident Revachol Grad.
There's a steadily increasing trickle of images. Between the big three scientific contributors, they're piecing together a dark grey corona. Yes. Pale covers 72% of the surface. There are grey flares and prominences, even arcs above entire isolas. The images are blurry, but if there was a sphere in there, it certainly looks like it fractured a long time ago.
A cold fear seeps into you.
The pale. And what do you mean, corona?
They say there is a rarefied envelope of matter surrounding the darkened disk of our planet. That is, if we are still living on a planet. Or, to speak more plainly, imagine vast swathes of land disrupted by nothingness. I am sorry, dear. It must sound quite terrifying through the acute encephalopathy. Even scientific positivism isn't entirely convinced about what we're dealing with here. But this is one of the greatest questions of our time. Maybe when they get the complete set together, it will jolt us out of our rut, bring us together, however naive it may sound.
Fracture corona does not feel like it's going to bring anyone together.
You have misimagined it. I don't have the power to convey to you the effect and geometry of the images that depict our world from below low orbit. It's like the crowning of the world. It's insane. Very disco. You'd love it.
Oh, if you say it's disco.
See? Everyone finds something worth holding on to in this world, however wasted its opportunities.
Suddenly, you're conscious of yourself standing there, on whatever this all is. Your arms hang down by your sides. The lieutenant observes you both, silently. He adjusts his glasses.
What is this acute encephalopathy? Yeah.
It's a neurological disorder caused by a lack of vitamin B in the brain. Symptoms include a retrograde amnesia. It's quite serious. You should get yourself checked out.
She conveys it in short, cold bursts, trying not to invest too deeply in the condition of this doomed detective. In case he goes down later, souring the entire portfolio.
Well, it's either bariatric surgery or long-term alcohol use.
It's definitely the drinking.
She nods slowly.
Yes, and perform autoerotic asphyxiation on yourself with your funny necktie, out in the open somewhere.
What is this?
A bird? A sphenicid? A flightless bird of the polar regions?
Am I really that awkward?
Of course you're not, my dear. I'm just terrible at guessing games. Ah. This is the pier of Rue de Saint-Ghislain, 33A, where the tenants have been kind enough to rent me a slot, or two. A pre-revolutionary tenement. Old buildings are called tenements, you see. And new buildings, bâtiments. After les bâtiments nouveaux. But 33A and 33B are not nouveaux. They're old. This one used to be 8 to 10 stories tall. A real high-rise by the standards of the last century. Built to mirror the skyscrapers across the bay in the Delta. That was before the war, of course.
Yep, I had figured that one out on my own, actually.
Mostly the urban middle class, I believe. This was once primo real estate, before the cannons lopped 4 or 5 stories off.
And left craters in the ground.
Splat, splat.
You could be wrong, but from here it appears as if she's running the brush across her throat in a soaring motion.
Wonderful.
What is that? Point to Cindy the Skull.
The girl in the old lady rags.
Yes.
Looks like a sullen and rebellious member of a teen infraculture.
Infraculture?
Yes, you and I belong to the supraculture. We're common, the herd. The music on the radio, the food in the chain restaurant, those are all too popular for the girl in the old lady rags. She prefers a fantasy world, an infraculture with its own dress code and vernacular. It is an illusion, I'm afraid. There is no refuge from the supraculture.
I understand everything. Make it more complicated somehow.
I can't. That's how simple it is. One may dye their hair green and wear their grandma's coat all they want. Capital has the ability to subsume all critiques into itself. Even those who would critique capital end up reinforcing it instead.
Yep. Yep. Isn't it the ultimate irony that this line is set in a game that had that happen to it? Truly, tis.
All right. What next?
Let's deal with the
Glad to have
breakthrough.
been of assistance.
Coach physical instrument. Wait, how did you know all those hammer throw techniques? How do you know how to hold a discus? Or the world youth record in discus? Something doesn't add up here. This mushy thing between your ears didn't know the name of the city you're in, but it comes loaded with trivia about the correct chin position of a shot-put ball. Could it be that? Shut up, namby-pamby. This train of thought ends abruptly. It's leg day. Straighten your rhombus muscle. It's shirts versus skins. Take your shirt off, Namby. Your skins.
+2 physical instrument of shirt slot is empty. Yep. Shut down encyclopedia, huh? Well, it means I don't need the white tank top. Okay.
You're back. Good. What can I help you with? Everything. Right up to, but not including, trade secrets.
Right, what if I want to hear about trade secrets?
First, you'd have to repeal the Emergencies Act of Trade and Aliments. That gives me the right to silence. It's quite the octopus.
Wouldn't want to disturb an octopus, better let it be.
I am glad you see it that way. To repeal the act would mean repealing the coalition government. The one that leases you the right to police West Revachol.
You'd be shooting yourself in the foot, in other words.
But I am derailing us. You wanted to know about the strike.
What is your role in this precisely?
I believe the official title is Senior Labor Negotiator. In practice, I'm a grocery clerk. I relay the union's demands to Wild Pines and return with Wild Pines' counteroffer.
And how are the talks going?
They're not. That's the problem. The union stopped all negotiations a week ago, after that awful lynching took place.
Yeah.
Now they won't even let me into the harbour. There's a 2-meter 20 racist behemoth blocking the gates.
Tell us more about this
What
behemoth.
can I say? The union employs a giant covered in tattoos. A racist giant. I guess that's part of their big tent organization now. Let's say I was not making the kind of progress I'd hoped for when I first arrived.
And when did you first arrive?
I arrived 3 weeks ago. Yes, in the middle of February. The bay was still partially frozen then. I prefer to do these things on site, like the RCM.
But the strike began in December.
I wasn't the original negotiator here. I took over after Mr. Gaumont hit a wall with Mr. Clare, the union boss. Mr. Clare refused to speak with Gaumont despite concessions he'd granted the union in prior negotiations.
This isn't the first time the union has gone on strike.
Heavens no. There have been 2 prior strikes. Both times the union won significant concessions, including overtime pay and a medical plan. This time their demands are more, I guess you could say, aggressive.
Ludicrous, even. It's meant.
What happened to this Gaumont?
Mr. Clare told him to, how did he put it? Fuck off, midget. Gaumont is short of stature, you see.
Not cool.
Keep in mind, this is a negotiator Mr. Clare has worked with before, and who was more than fair with him and the union.
What other demands?
There are leaflets everywhere, and banners. What did they say again? Oh yes, every worker, a member of the board.
Most of the workers probably don't know what that means.
I like it.
Then you might also like their other slogan. Demand democracy.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Personally, I don't think it has the same pizazzo as every worker, a member of the board.
What exactly do they mean by it, though? What's the demand?
It's quite simple, you see. Every time the Wild Pines group makes a decision about what, about anything really, it needs the signature of each of the 2,200 workers in its Martinez terminal. Just so you understand, this is but one of 22 terminals owned by Wild Pines. Essentially, not only are they kings of the company, they are also kings of the 72,000 employees of Wild Pines Group.
That is pretty funny, I have to admit.
They're having a blast. But how can they afford it? After 4 months, my assumption was they would prefer a more practical solution. I'm not sure. Naturally, I assumed that was just their opening position, a hard-nosed tactic with a side of mockery. But there's been no follow-up, just the same nonsensical slogan repeated over and over again.
I'm getting a lot of experience
now,
talk.
People are getting lynched, I hear. Behind the whirling in rags. A disastrous situation if there ever was one.
Excuse me, from whom did you hear about this lynching?
I first heard it from the boyer at the gates. The one whose very name advertises his aversion to work. I think he said it was, "Call me mañana."
This checks out.
Mm-hmm. Scabs the gate. Did you put them there?
The scabs? You mean the huddled masses of Jamrock, come to plead for work where the union refuses to? Yes, they were organized by Wild Pines. The contractors picked them up from Jamrock and drove them over. This is standard practice. The company reserves the right to man its stations.
Yep. Sounds about right. Once again, scabs are nothing but company stooges. Except for the scab leader. He's an actual mercenary.
Everard Clare is a man of the utmost integrity. If you can say one thing about him, it's that he always puts the interests of the workers first.
Really? Doesn't sound like it.
Of course not. Everard is fantastically corrupt. I imagine he has a thick, viscous goo where you and I have blood.
It can't be that bad.
He is the most corrupt individual I have ever seen, and I deal with men like him for a living. If there is anyone more venal, more irredeemably nepotistic, then it's his twin brother, Edgar.
Wait, there are 2 of him?
Yes, Edgar looks exactly like his brother, except for that lazy eye. He also talks exactly like Everard does, and when one's term as foreman is up, the other takes over. It's how they circumvent the term limits, you see, with a funny little switcheroo. While in office, they've embezzled God knows how much of their workers' dues.
How about the union itself outside the Brothers' Square?
The Débardeurs Union was once a perfectly normal institution. 20 years ago, anyway. It must not have been easy to establish under the Emergency Act, but they did it. I can respect that.
Yeah, that's how unions do it. They exist, and all the law can say about it is to agree to the fact that they exist. They can try to stop it, but it will take overwhelming force to do so.
Organized labor at its best, as they say. Then something happened in the local chapter elections. The brothers Clare came and transformed it into a... how do you say?
A mob. The Débardeurs are a crime syndicate. Sad as it may be, I suspect we'll be forced to cooperate with them.
Refreshingly honest, officer. The company has tried appeasing in the past, but I'm afraid our concessions have only emboldened Everard and his brother. And your opinion, detective, if I may ask? I'm a curious and talkative person, you see. Would you say the Débardeurs Union is...
Effective advocate for the rights of local working men.
Why do you think so?
Yeah. High opinion of the union, low opinion of those that control it.
Well, I suppose that's one way to look at it. They're an interesting composition, albeit vile. But enough about Everard. What else can I do for you?
I just got the achievement biggest communism builder.
I'm glad you asked. There was a woman, the previous forewoman of the Union. She disappeared.
Disappeared?
Yes. On the last day of the local chapter elections, her daughter phoned in and said she wasn't running anymore. Or coming to work. Ever. End of story.
Some kind of extortion, probably.
Indeed. The company suspects foul play, but there's nothing they could do. It was a union matter. The point of the presentation is, these kinds of things happen around the Clares. Watch out when you're dealing with him.
Thank you for your concern, man. We'll be just fine.
Of course. How else can I help? More lessons in basic reality? My favorite part of the day. Go ahead, ask me anything.
What are you?
What I am not is a basic term of reality.
There may be a way to get her speaking about herself at some later juncture. Everyone wants to talk about themselves. She will, in time.
Yeah. You said pale. What is pale?
The Pale is not, technically speaking, part of reality.
Yes. Also, I think we've had enough excitement for today. Remember, we have a cadaver to attend to.
Of course, Lieutenant. Let's try something else.
What do you mean it's not part of reality?
Ma'am, remember you are dealing with a very sensitive and impressionable police officer who is still recovering from a recent medical episode.
The Lieutenant's right. Let's change topics. What do you want to know? Anything.
This is not going to happen with the lieutenant present, unless you can convince him to step aside. Good idea. Just ask him. He won't make a scene.
Kim, can I talk to the man alone for a second?
Fine.
See? What can he do? You're a grown man.
I am! Now, what is the pale?
Are you sure you're sure? Your colleague seemed adamant.
Yes, what is the pale?
Okay. The Pale is the most dominant geological feature of the world, Detective. The separative tissue between the islas. It is the inter-islary mass.
Wait, what is the Isla?
Isla is a Messinian word for a continent of matter, enveloped on all sides by the Pale. Also, isolation, or landmass. We used to believe there was only one. In the last 4 centuries, we have discovered 7. Windy, Seol, Samara, Ilmara, Grad, Katla, and this, Insulinde.
And Insulindales?
An oceanic isla. It comprises mostly of water. Muindi is the largest, Katla the coldest, Insulinde the bluest. What can I say? Each is perishing and dear.
Okay, what is the Pale like?
Achromatic, odorless, featureless. The Pale is the enemy of matter and life. It is not like any other, or anything in the world. It is the transition state of being into nothingness.
The negation of being.
That's right. The negation of being.
Is it here?
No, Detective. We're safe. It begins there, 6,000 kilometers to the north, and even more to the south, east, and west. You are in the middle of the Isla.
As your gaze instinctively turns north, a small black pit opens up in your stomach.
And there?
An uproar of matter, darling. Rising into the Pale. Rolling. Evaporating even. The Great Vision. The area of transition between the world and the Pale is called Porch Collapse. Imagine a grey coronal mist. Cold vapor marked by spores of an opportunistic microorganism. A mold that's adapted to grow at the edge of the unrest. It's the most disco thing you will ever see.
What are its physical qualities?
It's difficult to describe, or even measure. Something whose fundamental property is the suspension of properties. Physical, epistemological, linguistic. The further into Pale you travel, the steeper the degree of suspension, right down to the mathematical. Numbers stop working. No one has yet passed the number barrier. It may be impossible.
Numbers stop working. How? That can't happen. Can it? Mathematics is the underpinning of reality. Everything that happens can be described mathematically somehow, even if it's mathematics that we have not gotten to yet. Whether because the individual person doesn't know it, which is very often the case, or because discovery hasn't gotten that far yet, which is less often the case but is still there, to some degree, especially back in the past. Nowadays, well, I can say this. Pretty much any time that physicists need some sort of new math in order to figure out what's going on, the mathematicians have already invented it. Sure, it may take a while for them to for anyone to realize this, decades even, but it's usually already the case somehow, at some point. But I guess that really drives home the fact that, yeah, whatever the Pale is, if it's really the suspension of reality, then at one point, math no longer working. Yeah, I don't think it really would be possible to go any further than that. Because once the numbers stop working, reality has truly gone and died.
Oh, it is so difficult for us.
A squall of birds, hardware operating in the harbour. Firm, self-evident.
It is possible to force dimensions on the Pale. In modern times, we can even compress its latitude, bouncing radio waves from one end to the other, shortening the path. But it is still hard for humans to navigate the Pale without getting lost, or having our minds damaged.
The pale can damage the mind.
Extensively. Some say the damage stems from extreme sensory deprivation. Others argue that pale somehow consists of past information that's degrading, that it's rarefied past, not rarefied matter. They call it the blend over of the self. The pale does not only suspend the laws of physics, but also the laws of psychology, maybe history even. The human mind becomes over-radiated by past.
Who says and who argues?
Who says and who argues?
The logical positivists say, the dialectical materialists argue.
I mean, I'm already pretty inclined to think that it's, yeah, whatever the pale is, it's different. You can't describe it in normal ways, so maybe saying that it's time somehow messed up. I mean, time is already a really weird thing to work with. We don't really have an understanding of what it is. So,
It feels terrible. Absolutely terrible. International standards strictly limit civilian travelers to 6 days of pale exposure per year.
It's more for her. Way more.
you're not a civilian passenger?
No nameless detective of the citizens' militia. I am a member of the entreprenetic business class. I'm cleared and trained for 22 days of pale transit annually.
Someone else you've met may have been exposed as well. The strange grey-haired woman in her lorry.
Do lorry drivers pass the pale?
Yes, carried in the hulls of airships. It's a horrific job. Automation will abolish it soon.
You should ask the pal driver about this. See what she says. That poor woman must have stories to tell, like you wouldn't imagine.
Are you overradiated?
Up to my gills, officer.
What is intraplanetic?
Entreprenetics is the scientific study of the pale, or a recent iteration of it by way of grad. The study of the pale reaches back 6,000 years. The Pericarnassians called it the Western Plain.
They had not traveled the entire circumference of the Pericarnassian Super E-Solar. It was not merely in the west, it was everywhere, even then, surrounding them.
There are signs of pre-modern crossings. Successful navigation of the pale relies not just on technical know-how, but intensive psychological preparation. Some of these tactics have been known for thousands of years. Nothing. We remain powerless before the pale. The only real advance in pale transit is the speed with which an aerostatic craft can pierce it. Less exposure leads to less effects later.
Aerostatic craft.
Hybrid airships, detective.
Yep, that's what I figured.
Conventional rotors or jet engines no longer add velocity after the point of reference for motion is suspended, once you've crossed from near pale to far pale.
Huh, that's weird. Very weird. That's basically what it would like to have one of those engines in a vacuum. Including the jet engine, sort of. The jet engine is a weird mix between a regular engine and a rocket. It acts mostly like a rocket, but unlike most, well, rocket engines, they don't actually carry their oxidizer with them, the thing that allows for burning. Instead, they suck in air, which they use to burn the fuel, because fire requires oxygen, or some sort of oxidizer. It need not necessarily be pure oxygen, but oxygen is usually involved. There's a reason why mitochondria are part of every macroscopic organism. It's a heavily controlled form of combustion that goes on. We are literally burning the sugars that we eat. Very, very slowly, but it is incredibly effective at generating energy, compared to the usual means of using of sugars. Well, the anaerobic, so non-oxygen, means of consuming sugars. We can still do this. In fact, that's what happens to your muscles when you're exercising extra hard. Hard enough so that your, well, respiratory system can't keep up providing oxygen. That produces, I forgot the name of it actually, but the waste product of that is actually alcohol, and that's why muscles hurt if you strain them too hard, too fast. I forgot what it's called. Fermentation. Fermentation. But yes. However, this is why you need to breathe. The muscles can handle it for a while, but not for very long. The rest of the body, especially the brain, can't. I mean, the liver can handle it, so long as you aren't soaking it with alcohol like an alcoholic. After all, that thing has an impressive regeneration rate. And it's specifically designed for dealing with poisons. Okay, back to this.
In essence, we throw them in and they come out the other end. If we throw them precisely.
If we do not,
then they don't.
Gone, like a skipping stone beneath the surface.
How much pales there compared to the world?
The pale outweighs reality 2 to 1. There is more pale than there is matter, and the ratio is slipping. What do you think, Detective?
It's growing. There's more and more of the pale.
Precisely. One of the few measurable effects of the pale is that it is expanding at an unknown rate. An intuitive conclusion of that development is that one day the pale will cover everything. But this sort of talk is mostly left to extremists.
It's not extreme at all. It's going to happen.
Most people, and indeed most private and government sector organizations, entire civilizations and religions even, find handy ways to ignore or downplay that knowledge. I suggest you do the same.
Painting it over and ignoring it. Like so many other things in life, isn't it? Admittedly, I have to come back to this. Yep. Knowledge of how awful things are going does not mean you can do anything about it. Sometimes it leaves you feeling worse.
Off we go. You see the hanged man's mouth open.
Off we go into the wild pale yonder.
One and all. They say pale is death, but for the universe.
Why should we just leave, and the world get left behind?
Yes, sweet reality. But before we do, tell me, Detective, is this the first time you're hearing this? Do you really not remember anything?
I sometimes sense vague shadows of a past, and it's not good.
Then tell me, what do you think of the pale?
I don't know how you survived with it. It's a huge accomplishment.
Mm-hmm. You really didn't know. This does not spell good for the investigation, Detective. If you don't know even this, then...
I'll handle it. It's under control, I think. I hope.
I hope so. I truly do. If I may suggest, hold on to your colleague, Kitsuragi. I ran a check on him and he is very competent. In the meanwhile...
Some of that assurance is meant for herself, as much as it's meant for you. She must have a lot on the line here.
You have me. I will assist you in any way I can, even if we have to do it one basic term at a time.
Good. You have not passed out from it. Perhaps I worried for nothing. Are we still on the reality lowdown, or should we do actual police work now?
Right, let's get back to work, Lieutenant.
Good luck, detectives.
Well, that was a trip. I think I'll call it here for this session, so, or this episode, yeah. I'll probably come back to playing later today, but I'm definitely going to need to take a break and think about the Pale. Admittedly, I've heard this at least, well, okay, I've heard about it at least twice. Once from The Fury of a Shattered Mirror, and once from another person watching another person do a playthrough. Although, again, I haven't gotten very far, like, through day 2-ish. So, and I have done things that they haven't, that's for sure. Like all the stuff with the motor carriage, so. Yeah, I'll be back. And maybe I'll have more thoughts on that. I mean, I did get into a tangent about rocket engines. And combustion, so. Anyway, I'll see you again next time. Until then.